Oh god, who needs meta?
We're golden.
Yeah. Talking about Tier 2 and tips on playing Tier 2, how to pick the appropriate Tier 2 deck based upon what is currently, awesome. Like, alright, so I personally love grab any random that and that. I like Doppelplants a lot. I love to play Doppelplants. I think Doppelplants are very fun. But unfortunately...
Remember, we're talking about Tier 2.
Yeah, they get crapped on by every single side deck option that was available in this format. Plus, cards that everybody was playing. Another deck that used to be really good that just gets crapped on, Windups. Why we're talking about not necessarily like why Windups did terrible, but like we're gonna be using this deck as kind of an example throughout the entire thing. So you look at cards that people were main decking. Triple Maxi was very common, at least 2 or 3, and at least 2 to 3 Veilers was kind of a big thing in the main deck. And Windups get trashed on by pretty much every hand trap. Same thing with Dragoonities. It was kind of like the Dragoonity thing is like died to every single hand trap.
Infernities too.
Yeah, and they can't even play Maxi, which is another downside of Infernity. You can't play Maxi unless you just draw Archfiend first card. It's like, oh, this game sucks.
Whatever.
Whatever. So the big side deck cards to counter the meta, like that all Tier 2 decks were playing, were Iron Wall and Goes and Match.
Yep.
These cards were in every side deck if you could side deck them. So if you were playing against a Tier 1 deck, you wanted your side deck to beat their side deck to even have a chance. So if you couldn't side deck these 2 cards, because they absolutely, wreck that deck, then, you were at a disadvantage playing against Tier 1, and if you were playing against a Tier 2 deck that was playing these cards, then you kind of lost to that too. It's like... Because Goes and Match and Iron Wall was so great against Prophecy and Dragons, and they just hurt those decks, and if you played Windups, you couldn't side those either. Mm-hmm. And another thing, a big deck, thing that the meta was siding was Skill Drain. If your deck can side Skill Drain, you had a huge advantage this format against anything that wasn't Dragons.
And there's really not that many decks that can.
Yeah, because I play Mermails, and I could easily side Skill Drain. Every time I was playing Midolches, and if it was a fair fight if they didn't draw Skill Drain.
But
if they had Skill Drain, I just kind of lost because I couldn't do anything. Another big card was, did your deck lose to Crimson Blader? If your deck lost to Crimson Blader, you just kind of scooped it out, pretty much. Like, the Blader lock was so ridiculous. If you didn't have the Veiler for Blader, there's nothing really you could do. Just like if you didn't have the MST for Skill Drain. We won't talk about that. Decks that were kind of immune to the side deck is why they did well. If you notice, Geargias did well. Harpies had a pretty good showing on the regional circuit, simply because Hunting Ground. Hunting Ground got rid of Skill Drain and,
Skill Drain, Vanities, whatever got in their way.
It was, Macro, stuff like that, that, decks had problems with, and that deck had the ability to get rid of it. Mermails had a really big opportunity with Infantry and Marksman, and Aqua Spirit being able to make Direwolf and get rid of stuff. That was, like, a really huge thing. So, if your deck, honestly, didn't lose, like, super hard to Blader, you had an advantage against Dragons, because there were 2 extra deck spots in their deck that were almost completely useless, because Dragons were playing... A lot of Dragons were playing 2 Blader. So when going into picking a Tier 2 deck, if you want to play Rogue and if you want to be able to combat stuff, the ability to main deck side deck cards is a really big deal. When there's only one thing, if you can main deck Iron Wall, if you go back to Windups, you can't play Iron Wall because of Rabbit.
Yep.
Windup Rabbit in itself. You can't play Goes in Match because Rat is Earth.
Magician's Fire.
Magician's Fire. Shark is Water. Warrior's Earth. Rabbit is Earth. If you played TG Warwolf, it was dark. If you played Tour Guides, they were dark. And next format, because Tanky goes in everything. We have 3 Tanky now. Bear.
Bear goes in everything.
Bear goes in everything. That's the new rule. Bear is back in Constellars. Bear's back in Windups. Bear goes in everything. If your deck plays Tanky, your deck plays Bear. Bear is now in Boojins. So, that's another thing. Boojins, I honestly feel did well because side goes in match. Everything's light. If your deck can side those things, you were fine. But, Game 1 was a huge deal. Plants this had an okay game 1 against some stuff, but like game 2 and 3, you would just lose to Skill Drain, you would lose to Gozen Match.
Everything tier 2 would side against tier 1 would work against it.
Yeah, and that's the idea behind it. If you're going to go into it, you want to pick a deck that, has a fighting chance game 2 and 3. So next format, we really feel like Constellars definitely have the, your best choices.
I'm actually thinking Constellars, and I think Boojins are actually going to be...
Boojins are going to be incredible next form with all the freaking support that the deck...
Especially after Primal Origins when they have the Banish 1 special.
That's why, in all honesty, I feel like still worth siding. They're still worth siding. All three of them. Who am I kidding? All 3 of them are still worth siding. And then I kind of want to do a breakdown on another thing Boojins had going to them last format. They were immune to both of these.
Yeah.
These were in everybody's deck, and Boojins were completely immune. Maxi was freaking useless. Valor doesn't stop Yamato because it's an optional effect that happens during the end phase. Mm-hmm. So there's absolutely no reason. This didn't hurt it at all. Crimson Blader was nothing.
Ironwall hurt it a little bit.
Ironwall did hurt it, and that's kind of the big thing was, Ironwall was able to stop it.
And there were enough people siding against Constellars with Light Imprisoning that it was,
Yeah, it was there. And then the Skill Drain really hurt it too.
Oh yeah. I actually had Boojin players sided against me.
Because you can just crane, but they'd have to really sack their hand.
Oh, yeah.
They'd have to have crane or have honest. They couldn't set it up with the Yamato. But I mean, 2 tanky, 3 duality and stuff like that. Getting to it wasn't too difficult.
They're getting the Searcher and what, Valiant?
I think so.
The Peacock, the main phase 2/1.
So there was a lot of different options, but certain decks really did just lose to certain side deck cards. So if you're gonna pick a tier 2 deck, you really want to go after one that really has the best side deck options so you don't lose game 2 and 3. That is honest to God why I play Mermails almost all format. Because the recurring play of Tidal, like if your play got screwed, you can just bring back Tidal. Or you can use Fishborg Archer and bring back something. That's what's going to be big next format, is Fishborg Archer in my opinion. Because if something bad happened, you'd be like, okay, Reborn Archer. And you're not completely crapped on. You make something, you pitch gun, Archer, sink 7, and make a gun gear. Then okay, you don't have nothing in the bank. So I want to know what you guys think are going to be the best rogue deck options for next format to combat the meta. We don't really know what the meta is, and so that's why we use all of last format's options. Technically this format, but all of last format's options. But I want to know. Our Gozen Match, our Ironwall, and our Skill Drain still worth siding. I honestly think all of them are if you can. I will always side Gozen, and I will always side Skill Drain in a deck that is completely applicable to. I also feel like this is going to be a good deck. Play it. Play it. So thanks for watching, guys.